Good morning. It's 9 a.m. on this Tuesday. Thanks for tuning into Daybreak here on WGRZ Plus. Confusion remains after the Erie County Medical Examiner's Office ruled the manner of Nurul Amin Shah Alam's death was a homicide, but the cause was determined to be medical in nature. That homicide designation does not place any legal blame, but it does raise new questions about accountability. 2 on your side's Scott Levin has more.
More than a month after the body of Nurul Amin Shah Alam was found on Perry Street, the Erie County Medical Examiner is revealing both the cause and the manner of his death. The cause...
So for the cause of death, the medical examiner investigation found it to be complications of a perforated duodenal ulcer precipitated by hypothermia and dehydration.
And the manner...
Homicide, which refers to death resulting from volitional or through a choice or decision or an act of another. And so this includes negligent acts or omissions or inaction.
Shah Alam, a visually impaired refugee, was found dead on February 24th. Just 5 days earlier, he was released from the Erie County Holding Center after a year-long stay and handed over to U.S. Border Patrol agents. Those agents dropped him off at a Black Rock Tim Hortons. It's between that moment and the discovery of his body that officials say his condition deteriorated.
It's not a typical ulcer that we think of from drinking too much coffee or from anything else in our diet or for smoking. This is actually precipitated by our body's physiologic response to severe stress. And that stress was felt to be hypothermia, being in very cold temperatures, and dehydration, so no access to liquids. So what happens in this physiologic response?
Erie County Health Director Dr. Gail Burstein says Shah Alam's death is determined to be a homicide, but made an important clarification.
So the designation of homicide does not imply intent to cause harm or death. The manner of death determinations are neutral. So they're non-legal, and they exist for vital statistic purposes only.
As for who should be held responsible, both Burstein and Erie County Executive Mark Polenkar say that's not for them to decide.
It would have to be a determination of law enforcement agencies such as the district attorney or the AG's office.
And both the AG's office and the district attorney's office are looking into Shah Alam's death. And when asked for comment, U.S. Border Patrol pointed us to 2 ex-posts from the Department of Homeland Security back in February, which both say in part that Shah Alam's death had nothing to do with Border Patrol, and claimed that when he was dropped off, he showed no signs of distress, mobility issues, or disabilities requiring special assistance. Now, 2 on your side spoke with a legal analyst about possible criminal charges that those Border Patrol agents could face and the questions that will likely need to be addressed.
The federal government doesn't seem to be helping on these immigration cases, any local agency that's trying to investigate them, but he'll try to get all the information he can. Why was this individual left at a closed store, at a closed restaurant? Why was he left with the clothing that he was wearing that day? What attempts were made to try to find him assistance? But again, beyond a reasonable doubt is a tough standard to meet here. And if he would have died that evening and it was sub-cold weather at 0 degrees or 5 degrees, maybe there's an argument. But 3 or 4 days later, it's hard to say that they should have foreseen it or that they ignored the consequences, even though on a lower level, if it's not reasonable, beyond a reasonable doubt, like a civil lawsuit where it's just by preponderance of the evidence, there would be liability here.
Now, as we await findings from the State Attorney General and the Erie County District Attorney, you can read more about this case on our website, WGRZ.com. Well, we do have an update this morning as the New York State Attorney General has released findings into a deadly police shooting in Orchard Park 2 years ago. That report says that officers will not face charges for using deadly force against James Cushman in August of 2024. Investigators say that Cushman himself called 911 and then charged at officers several times with a knife after ignoring commands to drop it. 2 officers fired at Cushman, who was pronounced dead at a hospital. An autopsy filed as part of a wrongful death lawsuit by Cushman's family shows he was shot 7 times, 5 of them from behind. The report concludes the prosecutors would not be able to prove the force was unjustified under New York state law, so no charges will be filed. The AG's office also says the police department didn't have body cameras at the time, but they did add them last June. 9:05 now on this Thursday morning, and gas prices continue to climb across the country. Right here in Western New York, they're climbing as well. AAA is reporting the national average for the price of a gallon of gas is now up to $4.08 today. That's up 2 cents from yesterday. The Buffalo average is at $3.97 a gallon. Just days before the war, the average was $2.98 a gallon. Drivers tell us that they've been going to local Native American gas stations as a way to save some money.
I'm getting Social Security. I kind of have to be watching my money every day because everything keeps going up and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. I try to save money wherever I can, and they got good prices here.
And with Easter travel coming this weekend, AAA spokesperson says that you can do a couple of things to save money, including using cruise control when you can, check your tire pressure, make sure your tires are properly inflated, and remove excess weight from your car if you can. 36 degrees right now. I'm ready for it to be warmer so that when I do pump gas, even though it's painful in terms of what we're paying, I'm sick of it being painful when I'm standing out there to pump gas, Patrick.
Because it seems like oftentimes those gas stations are so windy. Have you noticed?
Yeah, it's like I'm pumping gas at KeyBank Center.
Exactly.
Like a perpetual wind tunnel every time that you're standing underneath the canopy.
The canopy or that little seat, that roof there kind of funnels the wind.
Yeah.
It just seems like whenever you pump the gas, when did it get windy?
Right.
Right.
I'm lucky now that Elliot's old enough to pump gas for me, and it's not really a question like, will you? It's just, you will pump this gas for
Why
me.
is it, though, that some pumps have the little clicky thing and some don't?
No.
Because then they have the clicky thing, you can saunter back to your car and chill out.
Yep.
But some don't have it.
Yeah,
I know.
It's like I've lost the lottery when you don't have the clicky thing.
You look at the handle.
Or you win the lottery when you do have it.
You see the little ridges, but the click isn't there. You're like, oh.
I know.
It's almost a day ruiner.
Seriously, my gas pump didn't have the little clicky thing today.
Oh, and there's got to be a name for that.
Uh-huh.
And then what is the name of when you pull the gas thing out, the pump out, there's a little drizzle of gas that always comes out between getting it out of your car and then putting it back?
I don't know.
There's got to be a name for that. You remember there was a Saturday Night Live skit where they had names for things that we always see but don't really have names for them? Like, what's that clicky thing called? Maybe it's
we should come up with
a gas zipper or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Anywho.
Let's get to the weather headlines. And here we go. Norm Macdonald was the one who did that. Snitz? What was it? So, he had a skit on Saturday Night Live. It began with an S, and he wrote a book. Names of, you know who would know? Rich will know. All right. Few afternoon showers. We'll get the answer to that. Few afternoon showers, temperatures in the mid-60s today. All right. Partly sunny tomorrow. There could be a few showers in the morning particularly, and then on Saturday, a warmer day, close to 70, cooler on Easter Sunday with a threat of some showers. But it looks like in the morning, the rest of the day should be okay. It's just going to be on the cool side. We have a couple of rain showers approaching. Look at that. Just not impressive at all. So a light rain shower around the lunch hour into the early afternoon, and then they're out of here. So just a little window of rain. In fact, there could be some partial clearing later on towards sunset, leaving us with a pretty nice late afternoon and evening. How about that? In the warm air tomorrow morning, there will be no jacket on the roof because we'll be like in the 50s to around 60. And then there's a couple of showers that move through in the morning. And then that pushes out, leaving us mainly dry under a lot of cloud cover this afternoon, but maybe some partial clearing. And that'll set the stage for a warm up into the afternoon tomorrow and then again on Saturday afternoon. Near 60 today, low 60s, and then mid to upper 60s tomorrow. Here again is a look at Easter. There are those showers Friday morning. Saturday, A warm front comes through. A couple of thunder showers are possible. But then here comes the front Saturday night, Sunday morning. But 6 a.m., the rain is already pushing away. If this pans out, we could have a mostly dry Easter if that rain decides to come through at night. If it slows down a couple of hours, then we got to extend showers into Easter morning. So for that reason, we're going to go with that just in case. But I think there's a lot of dry time. It's just chilly on Easter. And there are the snow showers that could be following suit Monday into Tuesday. Light snow showers are possible to start next week, a spring break, with perhaps a few snowflakes on Monday, Tuesday. There's the planner through the weekend. Saturday afternoon, a few thunder showers. There's Easter morning, Easter afternoon, 42, and it should be quiet. Right into the low 40s. Mostly cloudy today with an afternoon shower. Long range forecast. There's Easter Sunday next week. It does look a little cooler. Close to 40 on Monday. Low, I should say mid to upper 30s with snow showers Tuesday. Remember, this is April, so you're not shoveling. It just melts pretty quick, but it's cool enough. 50 on Wednesday.
I'm looking up parts of a gas nozzle.
Oh, okay.
Hand guard, hold open latch, fuel sensor shut off, operating lever. So nothing very specific, or not a great name for anything like the hand guard. One of these does say that there's like, what is it when it doesn't work properly? What's
faulty?
Okay, so something like that. But it's reading about like a faulty gas nozzle, and that happened to me at a gas station a couple weeks ago, and it unclicked. Like, you know, when you do latch it and then it unlatches itself when it's full. When it's full. Well, it unlatched itself, but I pulled it out, and all the gas was still spraying out.
No.
Not just the little drizzle.
Wait, that's dangerous.
I know. It went everywhere. And then I just kind of shoved it back into the gas pump thing.
I hope you put your lighter away.
I know. That could be very dangerous.
No, that sounds actually really dangerous.
It was a very weird situation. That's never, I mean, I've pumped gas how many times in my life, and that never happened
that is
before.
very strange.
But anyway, I'll still use the little clicky, latchy nozzle thing when it's available.
There we go.
Okay, anyway, enough about that. We have a lot more to talk about after the break, including the Sabres possibly locking up a playoff spot for the first time in 14 seasons tonight. We'll talk about that coming up. Welcome back, 9:14, 36 degrees, and an historic mission around the moon has officially taken off.
4, 3, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Those 4 astronauts on the Artemis 2 mission are about 15 hours now into their journey around the moon. And on your left is right here, this is a live look of NASA monitoring the mission, their first moon mission in over 50 years.
That's a visualization.
Yeah, it is a visualization.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a,
who got that camera shot? I don't know. We've been taking live looks all morning long, and today they will be testing various systems on board, and Monday is actually when they'll start the moon flyby. And it took a lot to get to this point, and it involved help right here in Western New York. And 2 on your sides, Ron Plants shares more in this original report.
At the sprawling and expanding Elma Office Industrial Corporate Campus of the Moog Corporation, they have in recent years unveiled to the media new working and training spaces to further their space industry commitment. Check out their website. Last summer at their Space and Defense Group headquarters on Jameson Road, they took the wraps off this 120,000 square foot building with office design, training, and testing spaces, as well as production facilities, making their actuator devices, or as they call them, thrust vector control systems for spacecraft, including, of course, the SLS, Space Launch System vehicle for the Artemis mission.
When a rocket lifts off the pad, you'll see slight adjustments to ensure that rocket goes right where it needs to go. Moog sends items into space every single week. The primary product that we're supporting are actually satellites. So when you think about a rocket, when it launches off, we're helping ensure that satellites get into orbit safely.
But currently, Artemis, with its astronaut crew, the focus, with over 500 Moog employees involved in that particular project, as they produce up to 100 components and systems for the rocket, just as they did in the 1960s for the Saturn V Apollo project, which originally took astronauts to walk on the moon.
We have to test our products to rigorous levels of vibration testing, temperature testing, to make sure that our products are spot on every single time, 100% quality.
My hands have been on equipment that's in space. That's a really rewarding part of the job.
In Orchard Park, Eaton Corporation, also on board as a key supplier of oxygen systems for manned spaceflight like the Artemis mission. That's the breathing system, correct, for the astronaut?
That's correct.
All right.
So that regulates pressure from 3,400 psi all the way down to 3.4 psi, just so you can breathe within that spacesuit. So if you think of a car tire, that's 32 psi. 3,400 psi is quite a bit to manage here, especially oxygen.
The company's space heritage clearly on display in their lobby. You'll find this oxygen regulator used by John Glenn for his first U.S. true orbital flight in 1962. Their equipment also covering life support oxygen pressure and water in the current Orion crew capsule. With the launch, Eaton actuation valves assisting the fuel flow to the main engines and then help ignite the upper stage engines for Orion to orbit. 6 years ago, Eaton acquired this now 500-employee operation from Carlton Technologies, and that skilled workforce expected to grow with an expansion project.
There's technicians on the floor to help assemble and test and work with some of those programs, all the way up to salaried positions like engineering, quality engineers, mechanical engineering, and then even support staff on when we think about sales and supply chain. I mean, we're growing across the board.
On your side, Ron Plants, Channel 2 News.
Ron's very technical in that story, but essentially they're making the stuff to steer the spaceship and they're making the stuff so the astronauts can breathe.
Important stuff.
Very important things.
And I love the fact that they have a sales department. Like, how many clients do they have?
Right.
NASA and I'm sure there's
SpaceX. I don't know.
I'm sure there's I'm just being,
Moog does quite well.
They do, but it's just, there's not too many companies that need what they make, but what they make are critical parts of this rocket.
The brilliance of everyone involved in this, from the astronauts themselves to the engineers at Moog that are space scientists. It's unbelievable that that people are smart enough to create the technology to allow all of this to happen.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see.
And how they, like when they said when that rocket took off, there was a point when everything became computer controlled.
Yeah.
So who's the one who's plugging in okay, you got to take a right here and a left here when you get up into space, the trajectory and when to
I think
detach.
That too. And Elliot was asking me questions that I wish I could answer, but I couldn't. There's only 4 of them. They're there for 10 days. When do they sleep? And are 3 capable of doing everything while 1 is sleeping?
Well, Tom Costello on NBC said that they get like 4-hour shifts.
Okay.
The other thing that Tom Costello said is that there's a lot of time in the first day or 2, they're very nauseous because of the gravity. So imagine you're doing all this and you feel like crud, but that's understandable.
And I'm sure that some of the simulations, put them through the 5,000 mile per hour speed that they're going to.
The G-force on that must have been crazy.
And today, their job is making sure the bathroom works and
little things,
checking out the little things to make sure that they're ready for when they do land on the moon, which is planned for 2028 right now, which will be the Artemis 3 mission. So all of this, we're going around the moon, furthest out that they've ever been in space, the only time that human eyes have seen the dark side of the moon, and we'll get images of that.
That's going to be, I'm
starts on Monday.
I'm assuming it looks very much like the other side, but what's back there?
Right?
It's like peeking behind the closet. Hello.
Yeah. And so, they will start their journey around on Monday. Today they have to do more things with emptying out some sort of engines and lightening the load so that they can make the journey on Monday.
Oh.
And so over the weekend, they're doing things that if they do these particular things, they can't turn back. It's okay, now you have to go. around the moon. So it's real.
Oh, because they need the moon's gravity to send them back.
Exactly.
Okay.
So once they get rid of these engine, like lighten the engine load, then then they're going. And then they crash land in the Pacific Ocean.
Off the coast of San Diego.
Yes.
Who figures that one out? I mean, how do they know where to like turn the engines off so it floats down
and lands
near the channel near San Diego?
What if they end up by San Francisco instead of San Diego?
Well, then they catch a little train and head south. But that's. I wonder if they have that pinpointed, like they have recovery ships.
I think everything is pinpointed.
They have recovery ships ready to go.
Yeah.
Which is what happened with other, water landings. That's crazy to know it's going to fall here.
Yeah.
Maybe they could say, hey, drop us off at the Maldives. So we can holiday when we're done.
Or in the Niagara River, whatever. It'd be fun to see them over here.
That would be cool.
Speaking of, do you know that that Jeremy, who is one of the 4 astronauts, he was just here for the solar eclipse.
He was?
He came to the Science Museum
in
April of 2024.
Right, almost 2 years ago.
Right before the solar eclipse to talk about what we can expect to see and his role with NASA, and talked about being part of the Artemis mission.
Oh, so he knew then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then now he's up in space.
Now he's up in space. That's very cool.
So that's very cool.
How did you figure that out? How did you hear?
The Science Museum tweeted or put it out on Instagram, like, oh, do you remember when he was
Oh my
here?
gosh.
So
Old
very
Jeremy.
neat. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, good old
That was
Jeremy.
almost 2 years ago. April 8th. April 8th of 2024. Gosh. April seems to be kind of a spacey month for us.
It does.
Where things are just happening celestially.
It could also be a month when the Sabres finally make the playoffs, and we will talk about that right after the break.
Talk about a supernova.
Oh, little moon music all morning.
This is Three Dog Night, I think. Any help?
I don't know.
King Harvest. Is that it? Okay.
One hit wonder, I bet. Welcome back, and tonight could be the night that the Buffalo Sabres finally snap their 14-season playoff drought. The Sabres continue their push for the playoffs on the road in Ottawa tonight, and a win would put the Sabres into the postseason for the first time since 2011. The puck drops tonight at 7. Our Channel 2 sports team will be at the game in Ottawa, and we'll bring you the results in our 11 p.m. newscast tonight. We'll have highlights as well. And if you want to watch with other Sabres fans here at home, well, the Buffalo Saberhood is hosting a bar takeover. That's where Sabres fans are welcome to all gather at a bar to watch the game. Every away game is a different bar, and tonight's takeover will be taking place at Hofbrauhaus, and fans can expect the full takeover experience where they actually play the audio of the games, because sometimes you go to watch the game at a bar and they're not playing it, and that's really annoying. But they're going to have the audio and drink specials and giveaways, and it should be a lot of fun watching with fellow Sabres fans, which could be a really special night.
100%. It's going to be 7 o'clock, puck drop?
7 o'clock. And so I was saying earlier, I'll let Elliot stay up and watch the whole game. They don't have school tomorrow. So, of course, he's going to stay up and watch the whole game. So it'll be a fun night for Sabres fans to come together and cheer on their team and really celebrate something that we haven't seen in a long time, and our kids may have never seen before. So, we also need an update on Sam Carrick.
Yeah, we haven't heard about his arm. I don't know.
No. And by the way, yesterday was April Fool's Day. Were there any jokes played on you?
Well, it's one that I fell for online. But no,
Deion Dawkins?
No, that was one.
Elliot got out of school and he's like, "Did you hear Deion Dawkins was traded?"
But he tweeted it himself. That was weird.
But he also led up to that with a couple days ago mentioning like wanting to leave or people wanting to get rid of him, and so
it kind of like, this makes sense.
Yeah,
that's right. There was kind of that.
Yeah,
the one I fell for. This will relate to me and me only, or to those music fans. But there was a video on Instagram with Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead, who admitted that the famous show at where is Cornell?
Ithaca?
But it was at the Cornell campus in 1977. It's a famous show, okay? The night before they played in Buffalo, and apparently the Buffalo show was even better. That everybody knows the Cornell 77 show. He said on Instagram and he just passed away, so it was an old video, that it wasn't true. That concert never happened. And we were like, wait, what? That was all a myth? And then you read the thing and he's really serious about it. And then it said #April Fools. So I fell for that. So it was kind of a local connection.
Yeah.
Because those of you that fancy the band know that Ithaca 77 was like the show of all shows.
And so it is still the show of all shows.
It's still the show of all shows.
And but Buffalo may have been better.
And the interesting twist is that like the night before, the Buffalo show was not recorded. But apparently rumor has it was even better at the Odd. I think it was at the Odd than it was at Cornell. Anyway.
Okay.
What about you? Did you fall for anything?
No. Of course not.
She's impossible to fool. Believe me. I've tried.
Orange is no fun. I don't know.
Oh, you're plenty fun, but you don't fall for the jokes.
All right, go Sabres. We'll have highlights tomorrow morning on Daybreak. Bye, everybody.